There's a version of you that never gets to leave the room. Everyone else walks out of the conversation, you walk out carrying it. You're the one who noticed the three dots appear and then disappear. Who read the difference between okay and okay? Who felt the hug end half a second early and spent the whole drive home deciding what that half second meant? You're the one who can tell what mood the house is in from the sound of the front door. Who changed your tone mid-sentence because someone's face moved? You were at the party and above the party at the same time, watching yourself talk, noting that the laugh came out slightly too loud, deciding in real time that you were being too much and being unable to stop being it. And at some point, somebody in your life looked at you and said the sentence, "You're overthinking it." You've heard that your whole life. You're too sensitive. You read into things. You're making it up. Nobody meant anything by it. And here's what I want to say before anything else in this video. You probably weren't making it up. Maybe the tone really did change. Maybe the reply really was shorter. You are picking up signal that other people in that room are not picking up. And being told for 20 years that it isn't there does something to a person. But this whole video rests on one sentence. So here it is. The signal can be completely real, and the story you built on top of it can still be wrong. Two separate things. Almost nobody separates them. So the problem was never that you noticed too much. It's what happens in the 2 seconds after you notice. Let me show you with something ordinary. It's 4 in the afternoon. Your boss messages you, "Can we talk tomorrow?" That's it. That's the entire event. 4 words sent by someone who was probably walking to their car. Call that the first read. What actually happened? But you don't stay in the first read. Watch what your mind does with 4 words in about 2 seconds. Can we talk tomorrow? Why tomorrow? Why not now? He's had time to think about something. He was quiet in the meeting on Tuesday. Something's been building. Is this about the report? I need to figure out which thing this is before I walk in there. That's the second read. And notice what happened. You traveled from 4 words to a theory about your job, and there was no new evidence anywhere on that ladder. None. Just you filling in. Now hold on to this because we're going to keep coming back to it. The first read is what happened. The second read is what it means, what it predicts, and what you now have to do about it. You don't live in the first read. You have barely visited it in years, and the second read feels exactly like seeing. That's the trap. It doesn't arrive labeled interpretation. It arrives feeling like fact. So why doesn't your mind just leave it? Everyone assumes it's because you enjoy thinking. You don't. Nobody has ever enjoyed the 2 a.m. replay. Here's a better answer. You're not chasing thoughts. You're chasing landing. There's a well-studied trait psychologists call intolerance of uncertainty. The difficulty some people have leaving a question open. Not forever, just open for an hour. And the mechanism is embarrassingly simple. Not knowing feels bad. Working on it produces a temporary answer. The answer produces relief, and a brain that gets relief from a behavior tends to learn one lesson. This works. It doesn't matter that the relief lasts 9 minutes. It doesn't matter that you'll rebuild the same theory tomorrow. Something hurt, you did a thing, the hurt went down. That's all a habit needs. So you're not addicted to thinking. You're addicted to the moment it finally makes sense. Now, where does a mind learn to work this hard? For some people, it's just how they arrived. There are people who process everything more deeply from birth. Sound, light, mood. That's temperament. And if that's you, nothing bad had to happen to explain it. But for a lot of people watching this, there's another story, and you'll recognize it in your body before your head. Think about a child in a house where the mood changes without warning. That child doesn't hear a car pull into the drive. They hear what mood is he in. They don't hear a cupboard shut. They hear how hard did she shut it. They know from the way footsteps land on the stairs whether tonight is a normal night. They know which version of "I'm fine" is the dangerous one. They learn to read a face in the half second before anyone speaks, because in that house, half a second of warning was worth having. Nobody taught them that. There's no lesson. The nervous system just works out that small signals predict big consequences, and it gets very good, very fast. And here's the thing I need you to hear properly. That's not a wound. That's a skill, That's a small person doing threat assessment with no help and no training and getting good at it. The trouble is that skills don't come with an expiry date. 20 years later, you're a functioning adult in a calm house, and your boss sends 4 words at 4 in the afternoon, and something much older than you says. Something changed, pay attention. And it does not explain itself. It's not being dramatic. It's doing the job it was given. There's a third route too, and it's the least dramatic one. Sometimes you just analyzed, felt better, and did it again. 20 years of that, and it stops being a strategy. It's just how you are. However you got here, the shape it takes in adult life is fairly consistent. Let's go through it. Sign 1. You don't have conversations, you have transcripts. For most people, a conversation ends when they walk away from it. Yours doesn't. Yours gets filed. You're at dinner and your partner is a little quieter than usual. Not upset. Just quieter. And you keep the conversation going with the front half of your mind while the back half opens a file. When did it start? Was it before? Or after I mentioned Saturday? Is this the same quiet as last month? You'll bring that file to bed. You'll open it again on Tuesday. And this is why you can sit in an office all day and come home wrecked. You didn't do anything physical. Your body knows you ran a marathon anyway, because you were never having one conversation. You were having the conversation and simultaneously running the second read on it live. Sign 2, you are your own surveillance. Then the whole apparatus turns around and points at you. You don't just feel anxious. You notice you're anxious. Then you ask why. Then you wonder whether asking why is making it worse. Then you're anxious about being anxious. That's metacognition. Thinking about your own thinking. In small doses, it's one of the most useful things a mind can do. But there's no off switch on it. Nothing in there says that's enough now. So you don't just live. You live and you watch yourself living. You don't just feel sad. You feel sad and then you grade the sadness. Is this proportionate? Am I allowed to be this upset? Would a normal person be this upset? And then there's the replay. The conversation ended 6 hours ago, and you're still in it, scrubbing back to the one sentence you'd like to take out. Researchers call that post-event processing. You call it 2 a.m. Sign 3, you can't take anything at face value anymore. Somewhere along the way, you started seeing backstage. A colleague brings you a coffee and says something nice about your work, and a part of you, the part you're a little ashamed of, is already asking what they want. You get an apology and it doesn't land because you can tell they're ending the argument rather than agreeing with you. Someone says, of course, no problem, and you hear the specific flatness that means it is, mildly, a problem. You're not cynical. You didn't decide to become suspicious. You just can't stop running the second read on kindness. And once you've noticed that people sometimes say things for reasons other than the obvious one, you can't unnotice it. This is a real loss and nobody names it. It's not innocence about the world, it's innocence about people, the ability to take a compliment as just a compliment. And it's lonely in a very specific way. Being in a room where you're the only one who can hear the second track playing under the conversation. Sign 4, you carry feelings that were never yours. Here's the one that costs the most. You walk into a room where 2 people have been arguing and nobody has to tell you. You can feel it before anyone opens their mouth. Somebody sits next to you on the bus doing that fast leg bounce, and within a minute your own chest is tight. A friend tells you about her divorce on Thursday, and you're still carrying it around on Sunday. Not thinking about it, carrying it. Understanding what someone feels is one thing. Absorbing it is different, and you do the second one whether you agreed to or not. So you become the regulator. You're the one who softens the tone, who changes the subject a half second before it goes bad. Who knows who to seat next to who? People like being around you, and they should. You make rooms easier. But nobody is checking the regulator. The person everybody feels understood by is very often the person nobody thinks to ask about. And you've never brought it up, because bringing it up would require someone to focus on you. And honestly, you'd rather manage the room. Sign 5. Your body knows before you do. And it doesn't stay in your head. You drink a coffee. Your heart speeds up. That's the caffeine. That's all it is. But you notice the change and something in you flags it as wrong. and now you're monitoring your own pulse at a work lunch. That inner sensing has a name, interoception, and in some people the dial seems to be turned up permanently. Sensations that other people never register arrive in you as information, and then it loops. Sensation, interpretation, tension. Tension makes more sensation, which is why you often find out you're anxious from your chest rather than your thoughts. 5 signs. Different surfaces, one engine underneath. Something is unclear, I work on it, I feel briefly in control. Once you see the engine, you stop having 5 problems. You have one wearing 5 outfits. And I'm curious which outfit you know best. Now I have to be straight with you, because everything so far has been flattering, and the truth isn't only flattering. You're excellent at detection, you are much less reliable at interpretation. 2 different skills, and being good at the first one convinces nearly everyone they're good at the second. Here's roughly what the research on anxiety and social perception points to. Highly vigilant people don't seem to be dramatically more accurate about what someone is actually feeling. What they tend to be is faster, more confident, and more negative. Give an anxious mind an ambiguous face, an ambiguous pause, an ambiguous 4-word message, and it tends to resolve it downward. It picks the worst of the 2 available meanings. And there's a logic to that. Assume warmth and be wrong, you get hurt. Assume the worst and be wrong, you were just braced for nothing. Your system worked out a long time ago which mistake it could afford. So, the signal is real, but the story attached to the signal was written by a part of you that has never once been optimistic in its life. He was short with you. That happened. He's losing interest is not information. It's a draft. And now the objection you've been making in your head for the last 2 minutes. But I'm often right. Yes, you are. That's exactly the problem. Because you have been right. Someone really was upset. Someone really was pulling away. Someone really was hiding something, and you knew weeks before you were told. Those moments are why the alarm is untouchable now. Here's the uncomfortable mechanism. The reward schedule that produces the most stubborn behavior in a brain isn't the one that pays out every time. It's the one that pays out sometimes, unpredictably. That's the schedule that makes things nearly impossible to stop. Your intuition runs on that schedule. Wrong often enough to exhaust you. Right often enough that you can never dismiss it. And every hit gets filed as proof, while every miss quietly disappears. So over the years, you build a case file that only ever contains the evidence that you were right. I'm not going to tell you your perception is faulty. It isn't. But some of the time you sensed something real, and some of the time your mind built a cathedral on top of an ordinary Tuesday. Both of those probably happened this month. The goal was never to work out which kind of person you are. It's to stop needing to know immediately. There's one more thing, and it's the strangest. You worry you come across as awkward. So you start watching yourself in conversations. And because you're watching, you're half a second behind everything. Your timing goes. Your laugh lands late. You leave and think, see, I really am awkward. You didn't discover that. You built it, and then you filed it. Same with sleep. You check whether you're falling asleep, and checking is the one activity guaranteed to keep you awake. Same with closeness. You keep testing whether it's still there, and nothing kills closeness faster than being inspected. So some of what's in that case file isn't evidence. It's a fingerprint you left at your own crime scene. People assume the cost of all this is tiredness. It isn't. Tiredness is the symptom. The cost is that you're never only in the thing. You're in it, and beside it, taking notes. Not just at dinner and reading the table. Not just being loved and checking whether it's holding. Not just happy and calculating what it would cost to lose it, which is the realization I actually want you to sit with before we talk about what to do. You have been in every room of your life through glass. So, 4 things. And none of them is notice less, because you can't and you wouldn't want to. 1. Name the layer. When it starts, say it. That's the second read. Not I'm crazy, not stop. Just this is interpretation, not event. That label buys you about a centimeter of space, and a centimeter is enough to act from. 2. Leave one thing unfinished on purpose. Not the big thing. A small one. The message you don't decode today. What you're training isn't indifference. It's the discovery that an open question doesn't explode. You can't be told that. It has to be proven in small doses repeatedly. 3. Go back to the first read. In the spiral, come back to the plain facts. What did I see? What did I hear? Just that. Peeling the story off the signal is the entire skill, and it gets easier every time. 4. Stop resolving things privately. You've been doing all of it alone, detecting, decoding, concluding, then living inside the conclusion as though somebody confirmed it. Sometimes the honest move is to just say it. You seem a bit off. Are you okay? Or is it me? But here's the warning, because this is where people go wrong. Asking isn't the point. Asking once and letting the answer stand is the point. If you ask, get told it's fine, and you're back 3 hours later checking, you haven't escaped anything. You've swapped a quiet loop for a louder one, and now the relief has to come from somebody else. One question, one answer. Then you practice living with it. The mind that notices everything isn't broken. It's loyal. It's still doing a job it was handed by a much younger version of you in a house where that job mattered, and nobody ever came back to tell it that it could stop. But noticing something has never obligated you to solve it. A pause isn't a message. A silence isn't a verdict. Not everything you pick up is addressed to you. You don't need to see less. You just need to owe less to what you see. If this video made you understand yourself a little better, consider subscribing to our channel Decoded Psychology, because we decode the psychology you've never had the words for. There's a new video every week, right here. See you in the next one.